The midday sun beat down on the rust-colored rooftops of Adebayo Street. It was a typical Tuesday in the heart of Ibadan. Noisy, vibrant, pulsing with life. Street vendors shouted over each other, trying to sell everything from mangoes to knockoff electronics. Generators hummed in the background. Children zigzagged through the narrow paths barefoot, chasing worn-out tires and each other, their laughter bouncing off the walls of zinc shanties. Among them was Tari, just barely 2 years old, waddling on chubby legs and humming nonsense to himself. His mother, Esse, stood not far away, bartering with a pepper seller, her eyes darting between baskets of tomatoes and her son. The heat made everyone lazy. Everyone but the cobra. No one saw it slither out from beneath the gutter that ran beside the provision store. Its body was long and sleek, its eyes fixed, its tongue flickering with menace. The moment it entered the open street, people screamed, but not fast enough. Tari, curious and unaware of danger, spotted the moving rope and giggled. He bent down, both hands outstretched, ready to touch what he thought was a new toy. Then, Esse turned. Her scream cut through the air like a whip. "Tari!" She dropped everything and ran, arms stretched forward, eyes wide with a mother's worst fear. The image of her son's fingers hovering above a cobra's hood. But just as the cobra began to strike, a machete swung through the air with deadly precision. The snake's head flew a few feet before dropping to the ground with a soft thud. Esse collapsed beside her son, gathering him into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Jesus! Jesus! Jesus!" she cried, cradling him tightly, checking for any signs of a bite. He had a small scratch, probably from the pavement, but no puncture wounds. Still, she panicked. The man who had killed the snake knelt beside them. He looked to be in his early 30s, tall, lean, with sleeves rolled up and a sheen of sweat on his forehead. His hands trembled slightly from the adrenaline, but his eyes were calm. "We need to take him to the hospital, just in case," he said, not waiting for permission. He picked the boy up gently while Esse gathered herself. They ran to the main road, flagged down a keke napep, and sped off, ignoring traffic and protests from other commuters. Esse held her baby tight, whispering prayers into his tiny ears, while the stranger sat beside her, watching closely for any change in the child's condition. At the hospital, rushers rushed them into a pediatric emergency unit. The doctor examined Tari carefully, cleaned the scratch, and monitored his vitals. Hours passed in tense silence. Esse sat by her son's bedside, never letting go of his hand, while the stranger stood near the window, arms crossed, eyes heavy with thought. Finally, the doctor returned. "He's fine," he smiled. "No venom in his system. That man," he pointed to the stranger, "saved your son's life. 1 second later, and it would have been a different story." Esse's knees nearly gave way. She turned to the man. "I don't even know your name," she whispered. He gave a small, humble nod. "My name is Kelechi. I was just on my way to visit a friend when I heard the screams." Esse nodded slowly. "I'm Esse, and that's my son, Tari." They sat down together outside the hospital ward. The street noise was distant now, muffled by the sterile walls. For the first time that day, there was calm. Esse looked down at her trembling hands. "You don't understand. If anything had happened to him, he's all I have," her voice cracked. "His father left before he was even born, said he wasn't ready to be a dad. I've been doing everything alone." Kelechi looked at her with quiet empathy, then offered his hand. She took it. That handshake would become a turning point.
Subscribe to our channel for more interesting and life lesson story. Like and share to your friends and family. And most importantly, hit the notifications bell below so that you can be notified whenever we drop a new video like this. Hit the subscribe button now to join a community that is inspired to change the society for good through life-changing lessons and animated stories.
Over the next few days, Kelechi checked in regularly. He brought fruits, toys for Tari, and even walked with them back home when they were discharged. He never once asked for anything in return. One evening, a week after the incident, as the sun melted behind the rooftops and the air smelled of kerosene and roasted corn, Essay sat beside him outside her one-room apartment. "You really didn't have to keep coming," she said softly. "I know," Kelechi replied, "but I wanted to." She looked at him with tired but grateful eyes. "I've been alone for a long time, Kelechi. Today, you reminded me what safety feels like." Kelechi smiled, not with pride, but something quieter, something tender. "Then I'll keep showing up, if that's okay." And for the first time in years, Essay didn't feel like she had to carry everything alone. Not anymore. A month had passed since the Cobra incident, yet the memory clung to Essay like morning mist that refused to lift. She still had moments where she'd wake up in a cold sweat, images of Terry's fingers nearing the snake's hood playing over and over in her mind like a curse. But life was different now. Kelechi was no longer a visitor. He was part of their world. Every evening after work, he would show up with a bag of groceries in one hand and a warm smile in the other. He'd help Essay sweep the compound, fetch water, and sometimes carry Terry around on his shoulders while singing silly songs that made the boy laugh until he hiccuped. At first, neighbors whispered, "Hey, don't get a new man be that. The same one we kill snake." Essay ignored them. She had spent too long drowning in loneliness and survival to explain herself to idle mouths. And besides, there was nothing official between them. Yet, one rainy Thursday evening, Essay invited Kelechi to stay for dinner. The rain beat hard on the zinc roof, creating a rhythm that filled the small room with a gentle music. A single candle burned on the table, casting soft shadows across their faces. Terry had fallen asleep early, curled up on the mattress with a toy car tucked under his chin. They ate quietly, gari and egusi soup, until Kelechi spoke. "I've been meaning to ask you something," he said, clearing his throat. Essay looked up, spoon hovering mid-air. He continued, "That day in the hospital, you said Tari's father left before he was born." Essay nodded slowly. "He found out I was pregnant and said he needed space to think. I never heard from him again. I sent messages, called, nothing. After that, I stopped trying. It hurt, but I had a child to raise. That became my focus." Kelechi leaned back, his expression unreadable. "I was married once," he said after a pause. "We were only together a year. She left when I lost my job. Said she didn't sign up to suffer." Essay blinked. "You never told me that." "There was never a reason to, until now." They sat in silence again, the rain still whispering on the roof. Then, without warning, Kelechi reached across the table and gently took her hand. "Essay, I didn't come into your life just to kill a snake." Her breath caught in her throat. "I came because something in me recognized something in you, a kind of strength and softness. I don't want to just show up every evening with fruits. I want more." Essay's hand trembled slightly in his. "More?" He nodded. "A future, with you, with Tari, if you'll let me." Her eyes welled up with tears, unwelcome but honest. "I've been holding everything in for so long. Pain, anger, shame. I didn't think I'd ever be loved again. And I was okay with that. But?" She looked at him, her voice shaking. "But since you came, I've been breathing differently." He smiled. "That's all I needed to hear." They didn't kiss that night. They just sat there, hands clasped, as the storm outside softened into a drizzle and the candle melted to a puddle of wax. 1 year later. The community square was decorated with balloons and streamers. Children ran around with face paint and bags of chin-chin, laughter echoing from the street. Essay stood in a white lace gown, not extravagant, but elegant. She looked radiant, her smile wide as sunlight. Beside her stood Kelechi in a navy caftan, holding her hand with quiet pride. And right between them, dressed in a miniature suit, was Tari, now 3, a little taller, a little louder, still full of wonder. He clutched Kelechi's leg with both arms like he'd done 100 times before.
"Can I call you Daddy now?" he asked, eyes wide. Kelechi looked down at him and crouched, placing a hand on the boy's cheek. "You already do, little man." They didn't need a lavish ceremony or a crowd of strangers. The wedding was simple, intimate, just family, close friends, and a few tearful neighbors who had once whispered but now clapped the loudest. During the toast, Ise raised her glass and said, "I once thought surviving was all I'd ever do. But God didn't just send me a helper. He sent me a protector, a friend, and a home in human form. He didn't just kill a snake. He gave us another chance at life." Everyone stood and applauded. The music started, and as Kelechi led his wife and son onto the dance floor, it felt less like a celebration and more like a resurrection. A new chapter, a new family, and in the crowd, someone whispered again, not with scorn this time, but with awe, "That's the man who killed the cobra." Subscribe to our channel for more interesting and life lesson story. Like and share to your friends and family. And most importantly, hit the notifications bell below so that you can be notified whenever we drop a new video like this. Hit the subscribe button now to join a community that is inspired to change the society for good through life-changing lessons and animated stories.